Hello friends, welcome to the Take Better Photos channel. On the last video on this topic, I talked about 4 reasons to use Apple Proraw. As a reminder, Proraw is a file format exclusive to iPhone Pro models which combines a RAW format along with iPhone image processing to give you more flexibility when editing a photo. In this video, I'll be taking the opposite view from the last, talking about 4 reasons not to shoot with iPhone Proraw so you can make a better decision on whether to use it. So let's get right into it. The first reason is the lack of editability. To understand this, let's remind ourselves of why we shoot RAW in the first place. According to Adobe, we shoot RAW because one of the largest benefits of RAW is the ability to recover shadows and highlights in post-processing, as RAW is very forgiving if you have severely underexposed or overexposed areas. Unfortunately for ProRAW, this benefit is non-existent, particularly when trying to recover detail in highlights. Let's demonstrate this by editing some actual files, starting with a standard RAW file. So here is a standard RAW file. You can tell this is RAW by the DNG extension and by its 10 megabyte file size, which is typical for an iPhone RAW file. As in any RAW file, this image is unprocessed. Let's edit it to improve the way it looks. First, I'll boost the shadows. There, a lot of nice detail is brought up. Next, let's recover detail in the bright sky. As you can see, as I move the slider, details begin to appear. And because this is a RAW file, the adjustment looks smooth and natural. Now, let's do the same adjustment for a ProRAW file. You can tell that this is a ProRAW file through its 30 megabyte file size, which is roughly 3 times the size of a normal RAW. Notice in this image, the shadows are already properly exposed. This is because unlike in normal RAW, ProRAW automatically incorporates image fusion, which, similar to HDR, will combine different exposures, resulting in an image with a greater dynamic range than a standard RAW file. That being said, the sky is looking a little bit overexposed. Let's bring back some detail in the sky. As you can see, unlike in the standard RAW file, this adjustment is not looking good at all. Instead of detail being recovered properly, the highlights are turning into an unsightly gray, similar to what you get when editing a JPEG, which has a fraction of the size of this file. Now you might be wondering how to correctly implement an HDR RAW file. Well, we do not have to guess. Lightroom Camera also has a similar HDR RAW format. Let's take a look at its performance. As you can see, compared to ProRAW, it does the highlight recovery properly, giving more editing flexibility and detail recoverability than a standard RAW file. So that is the first reason. Move on to the second reason. The second reason is excessive noise reduction, particularly in low light. One of the great things about shooting in RAW is the abundance of ever-improving professional RAW denoisers that give amazing denoising performance. You would think ProRAW would support the ability to use these tools. Well, unfortunately, no. When you shoot in ProRAW, noise reduction is applied automatically. There's no way to turn it off, at least on the default camera app. Unfortunately, the noise reduction is not great. When viewed on a tiny iPhone screen, the result might look fine, even good. But when viewed up close, as you can see here, the results look overly soft, lacking any detail or clarity. The third reason not to use ProRAW is the file size. We've already seen that ProRAW is around 30 megabytes in size. For context, that's 10 times more than a typical JPEG, which hovers around 3 megabytes, and 3 times more than a standard RAW. That size would be fine if the extra file size allowed you to squeeze extra detail during post-processing. But if what you're getting is JPEG performance, then maybe it's better to stick with JPEG. The fourth and final reason not to use Proraw is other options. If all you need is greater dynamic range than JPEG, one option is to shoot with standard RAW. The drawback of this is you need to purchase a separate app, and there will be less dynamic range than Proraw, which incorporates image fusion. If, however, you need greater dynamic range than just a single RAW file, one option is to shoot RAW exposure brackets and merge to HDR. The best RAW editors of today, including Lightroom and Capture One, allow for RAW HDR bracket merging, and the final output is fully editable as RAW and will have greater dynamic range than a single RAW file. Check out my top RAW HDR editors video for more details. The drawback of this method is the extra work and knowledge needed for performing the merging. Finally, if you're willing to shoot and edit with Lightroom, Lightroom Camera comes with its own HDR RAW technology, which in many ways works better than ProRAW. Do watch my video if you are interested in that topic. So there you have it, 4 reasons not to shoot with ProRAW. I hope this video, along with the previous video on 4 reasons to shoot with ProRAW, gives you a better picture on this technology and whether to use it. Let me know in the comments if you shoot with Proraw or any other thoughts you have on this format. I'd love to hear from you. And if you like this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help keep the videos coming. Until the next video, I'm going to see you in the next one. Bye for now.